right there. But there is a lot of conversation about which particular company to deal with, why Vitol, how did it come through, did it go through PPDA, and won't this create a much bigger problem than what it seeks to solve? And a lot more that is happening in Parliament, of course, is what we want to delve into. My panel is full, and I'm glad to let you know about my panel. Let me start with my immediate right. I do have Blanchet with me right here. It's always a pleasure. I normally tell him he has an exotic name, and he said it's a Ugandan name. Very good morning to you, Blanchet, and it's always a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure being here this morning. I'm a Ugandan with exotic name. I come from Ntungamo, from the villages of Ntungamo, so people should know that I'm a Ugandan.
Yeah, they cannot be able to confuse it in any way. I have Honorable Jonathan Ebalo. Sometimes some of you people get surprised when we have these members of Parliament on the media roundtable. They're journalists, and once a journalist, always one. The people of Soroti here are well represented. A very good morning to you, Honorable.
Thank you, Mildred.
He's being too serious. I do not know what is happening, but I know the conversation we had earlier before we came on air. Mr. Richard, why are you laughing?
Because I'm worried that he may boycott the program.
Richard, a very good morning to you. Always
Good morning
a pleasure.
to our viewers. It's always a pleasure to be here.
No, if he was to boycott the program, he would not be here.
No, they come. So the boycott makes sense when you walk out. It's a walk.
So he may walk out of the program. We pray it will not come. And of course, today we're putting Joseph in a very tight situation because he's discussing with the boss. But no. Today he's a journalist. We will put back the title much later on. Joseph Sabiti, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
I was just imagining if I had to pronounce his name, what I would have to do.
Okay. You use the English name. That becomes easier.
Blaise. You see. Trouble.
Oh.
And when did these exotic names start penetrating our villages?
Anyway, no,
Especially
I will not get there. I will not. I will definitely not get there. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot happening in Parliament, but all that is happening in the absence of the opposition that of which Honorable Jonathan Ebalo is part of. They've decided we will not be here. We're not being heard. We've presented our issues. They're not being given attention. And so we'll stay out. But for how long, Honorable? I will start off with you. For how long do you think you can keep out of parliamentary business?
You see now, what the country needs to know now, this should not be a discussion between the opposition and then the government. It should be a conversation in the whole country. We walked out of Parliament on the 12th day of October 2023. It is now a month plus. We raised a number of issues through our leader of the opposition, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga. Very intelligent man, very sober man, very calm man, soft-spoken. We raised a number of issues. Number one, the issue of the human rights does not only bite the opposition, it bites all of us in the country. We have seen the way the NRMs have been brutalized during their NRM primaries. So this should not only be about the opposition and government, it should be a conversation about the human rights abuses in the country. Number one. Number two, we have seen on the streets of Kampala and other areas where drones come in the morning, broad daylight, abduct our people. They are taken to unknown destinations. A number of them have disappeared. People have been killed, and then government is not accountable. That should not be about opposition and government. It must be a conversation of the whole country. Number two, we have seen how our rallies have been violently dispersed. The FDC is a legally registered political party. The NUP is a legally registered political party. But we have seen the way government machinery, the way the military has brutally dispersed our political rallies. You cannot organize. There is no civic space for the members of the opposition. Yet, our rights are guaranteed in our constitution. Okay. That is number two. Number three, we have seen the continuity, what is happening in the country. Government has continued to prosecute our civilians in the military courts. even when there is a court ruling very clear that our civilians should not be tried in the military court. They should be tried in the other regular courts. But we have continued seeing our people being tried in the military courts. But there is also a bit of double standards. The other day, I was very surprised the way government operated. There was this guy who was arrested and suspected the ADF rebel, those who killed the tourists.
Yeah.
This man was charged in a magistrate court. Remember, they were calling him a suspected terrorist. He was tried in a chief magistrate court.
He didn't take plea, Honorable.
Even if he didn't take plea.
He was presented before the court. He didn't take plea because the court has no jurisdiction to handle such cases.
So why wasn't he presented in the military court? Now, if you arrested a Bualu or any other supporter of NUP or supporter of FDC, you're going to present him in a military court. Why? This is the guys who you suspect to be terrorists that should be presented in military courts, but not the civilians. That's what we're talking about. Now, you want to prosecute me in a military court because of my political beliefs. That should not be allowed. Number four, the other issue that we have now incorporated in our demands. We are demanding that the Balalo that are grabbing land in northern Uganda, the Balalo that are allowing their cows to move all over northern Uganda, destroying the crops in northern Uganda, they must leave northern Uganda immediately. Because the other day, there seemed to be a syndicate between the president and then the Balalo who are occupying the land in northern Uganda. Because the other day when he said that those giving the army 3 weeks to remove those people who have not fenced their land, what he was simply doing, he was giving 3 weeks to the Balalo to fence their land. Now, if a president gives an order, if there is an executive order that they must leave, the army must swing in action and ensure that these guys are out of northern Uganda. Okay. But when you're going to buy time to tell them that we are giving the army 3 weeks to get these guys out of northern Uganda, what you are doing is simply to allow the Balalo who are occupying that area to fence their land. So our demands are genuine.
Yes.
We raise very pertinent concerns. And I want to laud the opposition. I want to laud my colleagues, the members of parliament, that our walkout is not in vain. It's yielding.
And
you saw what happened. You saw what happened early this week, last week. Was it last week? You saw the army, the government releasing 2 people. Releasing 2 people.
Okay.
Yes, that were in detention. We are saying now you have released these 2 people. Please, government, bring even the other 16. Now that you have released these 2, bring even the other 16. Where are they? So these people, we do not know where they are.
So you're going to stay out until everything is sorted? How long is that going to be able to take?
Let me tell you the pain we are going through. Mildred, maybe among these people, your relative is not among them.
Yeah,
you
and
do
that
not
is why
know the pain. The pain of waking up in the morning.
Honorable.
And then your relative, I'm going to tell you, the pain of waking up in the morning. And then I am your brother. You know that Ebualu is not going to come back. For the last 2 years, Ebualu is not available. The children are there. The children that used to study, now they are seated on the veranda. My wife is there suffering. My relatives, the trauma, that agony. And then government is not explaining.
Yes,
even if they are dead, what we're asking government
let me
to
tell
do.
you one thing. No one is doubting the greatness in the conversations that you're bringing on board. They're pertinent issues. Human rights is not opposition, is not government. It is everyone's concern. And it is the right, it is an obligation of government to protect its citizens. Yeah. But the question is, do you think you're staying out of parliament over those particular concerns, because you have a myriad of what you have to deal with as members of parliament, is going to yield the results? And the question is, up to how long are you going to stay?
That's why I'm saying the contest should not be about the opposition and government. The other day, I was listening to my senior brother, the Minister of ICT, the Honorable Barembozi, talking very arrogantly, saying that you walked out on your own, so come back on your own. It should not be about that. The people whom we are asking.
But what was wrong about his statement? It is arrogant, as you say. That was very arrogant,
very bad.
But you walked out. Even when you were walking out, the deputy speaker said, the door is open. No one asks to come in and no one asks to get out.
The deputy speaker or any other person knows that walking out is a legitimate cause. Walking out is democratic. It's guaranteed in our constitution. It's one way that we can express our grievance. Okay. Other than going to box the speaker, other than going to do what, it's one way that we are expressing our grievance on behalf of the many Ugandans who cannot be in parliament. For us, we are representatives of the people. And when we are in parliament, like for me, I represent close to 120,000 people in Soroti West. So when you pick one person, they cannot come to parliament to speak. It's me who comes on the floor of parliament and speak on their behalf. Two, our walkout, the leader of the opposition very ably wrote to the speaker. The speaker was notified that we are going to be out on the floor of parliament, and also followed up with a written communication. So the other day, I was following in parliament that the members of the opposition who were out, they risk being ejected from parliament. That's as per your rules. But this communication was communicated. It's on the records of parliament, and also it's in writing that we are going to be out of there. It's legitimate. And I want to appeal to any other person that let us not attach feelings. Number one. Number two, let us not bring in the party lines, the party differences, the difference between the aisle. We must look at the country that the human rights affects you, whether you're lame, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Catholic, whether you are a NUP, whether you're NRM. The human rights is guaranteed in our constitution and must be very clear. That's not negotiable. In fact, it is not the generosity of the NRM government that we must enjoy our human rights. It is guaranteed in the Constitution, and yet only in the Constitution. These are human rights, fundamental human rights. With or without Museveni being president, we must enjoy our human rights, because the president does not guarantee human rights. These are guaranteed by God. Okay. It should not be by any other person.
Thank you.
Therefore, in conclusion, our demands are legitimate. Our concerns must be addressed by government. So as long as the government is not going to table our grievances in parliament, I am very certain that we are going to sit again. I think there's going to be a caucus again on Monday or Tuesday. Government had promised that on Tuesday they were going to come with a report on Tuesday. But we got a communication yesterday from Parliament, the presiding officer, that the respective ministers will not be around on Tuesday next week. But what's going to happen? The caucus of the opposition will communicate the next course of action. Okay. But
Honorable,
there is one thing that happened. No, just a second.
I'll be coming back to you.
There is one thing that happened during the debate of the Public Order Management Act. When you look at Section 1 to Section 7, the opposition vigorously participated in the making of that bill. Section 1 up to Section 7. The Abudu Katuntu, the Nandala Mafabi, and Semuju, and a number of them, the Winikiza. Now, when the opposition walked out of Parliament, you saw from Section 8 up to the last section. In fact, Section 8 is where they gave the police express orders to either allow or not to allow the opposition gathering or any other gathering. Now, if we are out of Parliament, we have now given the NRM free range to do whatever they want. I think we shall need to sit in the caucus next Tuesday and communicate to the country what next. Whether we are going to continue with the boycott or we will resume Parliament and give government some conditions.
Blanche,
I thank you.
Let me come to you, Blanche. Is this a sustainable move? No one is doubting the issues that the opposition is raising, but the sustainability of the move and whether it's the right option to actually have their voice heard the most.
Yeah, as you said, the issues that they are raising are substantial, and we are all here, we are journalists. Beyond what he said is that I think one of the stories that I did after 2021 election was going to a certain Srami in Machindia, speaking to a certain lady whose husband has been arrested in the November 2020, right, before elections. This guy is called John Damara, if I have not forgotten his name. The lady is the age of my mother. So as I started interviewing this lady, I interviewed her for like 40-45 minutes. The lady was crying throughout the interview. I have never seen my mother cry. That was a moving story for me. Yeah. Up to there, no one knows where that guy is. That's more than 2 or 3 years. We're in 2 years now since that incident happened. That man has never been produced in court. He was, I think, one time mentioned by the president and then mentioned by by the spokesperson of Kampala Metropolitan Command Police, of KMP. So beyond the abstract statements of really saying there are gross human violations in this country, they are really clear and alarming examples. So how do you speak for this, for a family like that, if you don't walk out of parliament? How does this family feel that you are making a contribution to them? I feel for me, walking out of parliament is the best decision that the opposition made. And for me, I feel that they need to stay out of parliament as long as possible, as long as government can account for every person who is under arrest and either produce him in court or say this person is in press ABCD for crime ABCD. As simple as that. If government can account for these people, for me, I would say let the opposition return to parliament.
This accountability has been demanded since 2021 elections.
Yes, they have demanded it, but it's the first time that we have had the opposition walk out of parliament and stay out for more than a month. It means that they are communicating to government that government should take them a bit extra serious.
Okay.
And for me, if they return to parliament without this government responding their demands and responding to these demands their satisfaction, accounting for these people, then government cannot take them serious.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Blanche. Joseph, are your bosses going to stay out forever? And is this, of course, you're looking at it journalistically, and I put that tinge because they're members of parliament. But journalistically, do you see this walkout? Because this is not the first time we've seen a walkout by members of parliament in the House contesting a particular issue. Is it sustainable? Will it help solve the problem that they are trying to solve?
10 years of my journalism career, the bulk of it was dedicated to coverage of parliament.
Yes.
And I am quite certain that walkouts have been part of our democracy, part of the practices in parliament. I can also accurately say that every walkout has been characterized by a return. And many times that return has not been because everything has been agreed on, has been based on the fact that MPs realize, like my brother Honorable Boal has said, MPs realize that actually sometimes staying away from the House does much more harm than being present in the House. So I wanted to state that for the record. But also too, anybody who has closely followed Parliament will realize that the Honorable Matthias Mpuga has displayed extreme brilliance and articulation and as well as understanding of rules of Parliament. He has been, in my view, one of the, if not the most successful leader of the opposition in Parliament. I have heard people compare him to Professor Maurice Ogenga Latigo. I was not in Parliament when Latigo was PM. And they talked about the time when Latigo was on the other side and you had Professor Apollon Sibambi on the other side. So there were two professors on both sides of the House, and they had a way of handling the issues. I think that in this whole contest, Mildred, I listened to the speaker say that, look, I would rather we come back and fight from within. Because, trust me, in the 10 years of my journalism career, I have had my legs beaten. You don't need to tell me about, about the pain of feeling your rights being abused. I walked on crutches to this newsroom. I had my vehicle followed. I have had my experiences with things that I don't agree with in regard to the conduct of the apparatus, security apparatus in this country. For me, I think that the House misses the loud voice of the Honorable Jonathan Ebwalu, the individual brilliance of the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, the loud voice of the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. I think that these voices within the House made a difference. At a time when they're asking genuine, legitimate questions about the conduct of the security agencies, these voices have been silent for the last, couple of days. And for me, I think that I would think it is better to go back and fight from within. That's point number. Point number two, I stated here last time, Mildred, when I was here, that the question of human rights, the question of rule of law, the question of constitutionalism is not a Honorable Jonathan Ebwalu, is not an FDC, is not a NUP matter. We are discussing our country. And I want to reach to a point where we sit down and say, these are our agreed national interests. Then these are partisan political interests. And I think that the solution to this is for all MPs to get back to the House and, regardless of political stance, have an honest conversation about the country that we want to see.
Yeah.
And I think that my generation should take lead in creating that agenda. This outright polarization, outright hard stance, I want A, I want B on the political divide will not take this country forward. Finally, Mildred, two things. One is that Honorable Boalu, when they were debating this recent bill in regard to oil, I saw your Secretary General in the House. The Honorable Nathan Andala Mafabi participated in that debate. I also saw the Honorable Imad Cecilia Ogwal in the House. I also saw the Honorable Florence from Kasese in the House, right? So I think that eventually the people are going to realize that it's important to actually go and make your point made. Number two, and by the way, Mildred, honestly, this is the honest stand. If any journalist wants to ascertain whether or not there's a boycott, there's an automatic clock-in system of Parliament, and that is the system that determines whether you are in the House or not.
Or not, yeah.
I think that in my days in the newsroom, my big head would have pushed beyond barriers to find that statistics. You might get the shock of your life and find that there's a boycott on TV and a clock-in at Parliament. I'm not ruling out that possibility. My journalistic instinct tells me a sharp journalist out of the parliamentary press needs to look for that data. I don't know how they're going to find it because
I think that's not correct.
No, I am saying.
No.
Yes.
You see, this goes on record.
Yes.
When you say that we boycott you on TV and we are in Parliament.
You're in Parliament doing parliamentary. Okay, first of all, let's get it clear.
Yeah.
Did you boycott plenary or you boycotted Parliament?
No.
Because Parliament is huge and with a lot of work.
Yeah, I want to put this on record, my brother. The leader of the opposition was very clear. We are boycotting plenary.
Okay.
We are boycotting plenary, but we have continued to participate in other parliamentary activities like the committees and the rest. It's a plenary that we have boycotted.
But most of the Parliament, what goes on in the committees?
Let me say this. Just get me right so that you respond.
Yeah.
Get me right. I am saying, in my days of journalism, I'm not talking about committee proceedings.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about any other place.
Yeah.
I'm saying in my days of journalism, my big head would have taken, you know that your biometrics are captured in plenary.
Yeah.
I am saying, in my days of journalism, I would break the walls to get that record.
Yeah.
To ascertain that actually, every person who has said they are for boycott has not clocked in. And it will help. It will vindicate you. It will point you as a man of your...
Yes.
In plenary. I'm talking about plenary, not committee proceedings. I am saying, if any journalist... I am now speaking. I am back in the newsroom. If my assignment of today would be to do whatever it takes to access that data, and then I will say Honorable Boalu is a man of his word, Honorable Baguma is on boycotting on TV but clocking in. Yes. Take that. Yes.
Now.
Okay.
Finally, I wanted to say this. Parliament is a house of rules. Honorable Boalu knows. The 11th Parliament made the rules of procedure. In the rules they passed, there is 112. Subsection 6, it says, except with the permission of the Speaker, no member of Parliament is actually supposed to miss 15 or more consecutive sittings.
Yes.
By the time we are at TikTok, by the time it reaches 10, Honorable Boalu, you will be back to the House. I am
without
saying
permission. These are the
rules. I am
rules.
saying this, that we are at TikTok.
No, but you see, that's without permission. But here we are telling you that on behalf of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, the Right Honorable Matthias Mpuga,
sought permission or informed?
Yeah, informed the Parliament.
The rule says,
is your rule information or permission?
Not information.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Permission, not information.
Okay.
No, because I work in the Speaker's office, this is what happens. When the Honorable Jonathan Boalu asks for permission to stay away, the Speaker responds granting or denying that permission. When you write to inform, you're not asking the Speaker to act, to respond to you or something. You're simply saying,
no, but you had the Deputy Speaker of Parliament
Yes.
when the Honorable Mathan Spoga ably communicated our position, the leader of the opposition, the Deputy Speaker responded and said that is within your right. So what response else do you want?
Well, you're right.
And it's in unanswered.
Honorable Balo, your rights include the right to let your seat go by missing 15 consecutive sittings. That's still within your right.
That's another thing.
No, that's also your right.
That's within your right and within the
right.
rules of procedure.
And within the rules.
I mean, your rules and regulations
yes,
that you agreed to as a
The
as
right
a
Honorable
parliament.
Taiba is right. Part of your rights as an MP include walking out, include coming in, but also include missing 15 consecutive sittings and going back to an election.
No, these are your rules. These are your rules, Honorable.
The rules are very clear. I agree.
Yes,
the rules are clear.
Those are rules.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
But then what I'm telling you is that the right honorable leader of the opposition informed Parliament, and Parliament officially is aware that we are out.
Thank you,
Honorable,
Honorable. But we are not talking about information,
Honorable,
rather permission.
Mildred,
I will open the rules of procedure.
I want to ask my brother. Honorable Balo, you have done this. When you are
I've done what?
You've written seeking to be out of the house. Do you write to inform the speaker or you ask for permission? Let's be honest.
Permission was granted.
By who?
Deputy Speaker granted permission.
No.
By saying it is your right. All right, these are semantics. I know it is semantics, whether it's permission or information. But let's go. Richard, I want to involve you on this. Like Joseph said, and like we've seen over time, this is not the first time we're having a walkout. In most of the cases, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's a walkout and walk back, even when the issues are not entirely dealt with. Sometimes the walk back is always with a promise. We've been told government will be able to handle, and I don't know whether government has handled all through the reasons why opposition has walked out. Will this be any different?
For me, I think the walkout first has achieved a lot. The fact that we are sitting here talking about scores of missing Ugandans and the refusal of the regime to respond, I think for me is an achievement.
Okay.
For the guys who have walked out. Why I even think it's an achievement is that they have very, very little room for maneuver anyway. So I said, I think last time I was here, that when you press the nose, even when you are just trying to get out mucus, but you overpress it, it bleeds. So this is a nose bleeding. But you see, a nose cannot bleed continuously. The bleeding must stop. So the members of the opposition have milked this walkout adequately. It is going to lose steam. It is going to get out of the headline. As usual, the media, you know, we will move on. So the boycott. In fact, part of what is sustaining the story is like the statements like from the speaker that you see government is not going to bring a statement soon. But these are the things that perpetuate the story. This time it wouldn't have been headline, but the speaker comes out and says, government, why? Did the government spokesperson be the one to say that? So this will lose its steam. And what the opposition should be doing is to be looking for another activity to keep the story running, if indeed they want to keep the story running. But you see, I am not part of those that will then jeer at the members of the opposition for going back. There's nothing wrong with going back. They have done this bit. They should be thinking, what other bit can you do within a very constrained political context? Because if you want to work and get solutions, you have one space, one plot in this country where you would work and get an adequate response to this situation. But otherwise, walking around the precincts of parliament or wherever, we know where decisions are made in this country. That's the first one. The second thing is that even when you have a little stone in your shoe, a very tiny stone in your shoe, it makes your walking uncomfortable. That is what I think the opposition is doing. It still makes you... so you will have to tell people, all of us, How many ministers are in security? The one for security, the one for defense, the one for internal affairs. They are all going out for very important issues out of the country, including their ministers of state.
About 15 of them.
It sounds implausible. I don't want to use more telling words. It sounds implausible. So you imagine how you look. You are an important person with the pomp, but when your people are looking at you, they are like, look at this one. So I think that little stone that they are doing. So you have pushing value, you have propaganda value, you have debate value, you have keeping the issue on the agenda value.
Okay.
I think now he has talked about releasing 2 people. I don't know whether it's 2 of the 18, probably. But also, for me, it's not just the number 18. The number 18 is what they have chosen as a representation, because you always have to have something to rally around. But it's more than 18.
Sure.
Of course, if we are going to talk about the figures. But this is the group that has been chosen. It's like when you look at the Israeli-Hamas, there is a hospital that has become the symbol of the barbarism that is happening there. So it's the same. You have to have something to rally around. The bigger picture for me is that we have an accumulation of mistakes. We have an accumulation of mistakes. The people who are currently in power may not live for long by nature. They may, but they may not live for long any much longer because they have really lived for long. The thing is that for us, who are either with them or associated with them, whether we are with them or not, are going to pay a price. Over to you, Mildred.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be taking a very short break on this. I think what is agreeable is that these are pertinent issues and that have to be addressed. But is this the channel? How long will it take? And will it be able to produce the right yields that the opposition is seeking to have? Honorable Jonathan said on Tuesday they will be able to sit and communicate. So we'll definitely be here to let you in on what will be the next course of action. Let's take a very short break. We'll return with much more.
What car do you drive? Is it a Ford? Is it a Land Rover? A Volkswagen? Is it a Honda? A Jaguar? Or maybe a Subaru? It doesn't matter what car you drive. If you use the right oil, you have the right car. Castrol, recommended by leading vehicle manufacturers worldwide. Castrol, it's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
We always tell ourselves we need to do more, relax and enjoy more. Every time you walk into Kimbaba's restaurant, you are reminded to do all this and a lot more. With an extensive menu meant to give you endless options, to amazing catering, spa services, and so much more. Kimbaba's restaurant.
Upgrade your living space with comfort and style. The end of the year sale is here at Nina Interiors, and you don't want to miss out on the amazing deals we have for you. From comfy sofas to sleek dining tables, we've got everything you need to create a space that truly reflects your unique style. Get the best quality and make huge savings this season. Visit our showrooms at House 17, Ginger Road, and Primroses Mall in Luboa to get the best discount for the perfect furniture for your home. Nina Interiors.
From foundations to homes, to skyscrapers, sketches to superhighways. Come meet the people raising the bar in construction at the first ever Uganda Construction and Infrastructure Forum and Exhibition. Genuine contractors, architects, engineers, surveyors, financiers, suppliers, manufacturers, and policy makers under one umbrella for all your construction needs. For 4 days of thought-provoking discussions, exhibitions, and networking. Don't miss the enigmatic Professor P.L. Olumumba, our keynote speaker, from the 14th to the 17th of December at Kololo Independence Grounds. Visit www.unapsec.co.ug for sponsorship and exhibitions. Call Miss Helen or Mr. Mike Serunkuma on 0774 992 514.
Here's an opportunity to perform during the UB40 featuring Ali Campbell concert. Using your smartphone, record a video of yourself singing one of Ali Campbell's songs like Red Red Wine, Cherry O Baby, Falling in Love, among others. Post it on your TikTok or Instagram using the hashtag NextBigThing or the hashtags UB40FTAliCampbell. The videos with the most likes or engagement will be selected to either win tickets to the show or qualify to perform live during the concert. UB40 featuring Ali Campbell, the next big thing.
My name is Kasim. I'm a software developer and a network engineer, and I do influencing as a side hustle. For the influencing gig, I use Wowzy app. For you to sign up to Wowzy, you need to go to Play Stores for those with Android. Then for those with Apple, you need to go to App Stores. And all you need for verification, you need a legal document, for example, a national ID. So the moment you sign up, the app keeps sending you notifications for the gig. So it's upon you to accept, reject, or let it pass. I know you guys, you're saying, the money is there. All you need to do, you look for the payment method. It's either through the bank or via mobile money. But as me, I use mobile money. So I urge you guys to all sign up for this app.
Primo Promotions and Afromobile presents the Africa Angela Festival, celebrating Eritrean, Ethiopian, India, Kenya, Rwanda, Congo, South Sudanese, and Ugandan culture all together on Sunday 17th December at Jahazi Pia Munyonyo, featuring Robel Negash, Nemia Zerai from Eritrea, Spice Diana, and Dr. Jose Chameleon from Uganda. On Sunday 17th December at Jahazi Pia Munyonyo, as we celebrate African culture and African food. Entrance is 20K. Sponsored by Kendall Skills Training Center, Miranda Motel, NBS TV, Sanyuka TV, and Silverback Events.
Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it NBS Television. And this is the Morning Breeze, the Political Command Center. It is the Media Roundtable. We get to have journalists in the perspective making sense of the stories that have made headlines. And during this week, of course, we were still talking about the walkout of Parliament. When do they return? What do they return with? Of course, definitely, they will be able to return. That is why we're saying when, not if. They will definitely be able to get back to Parliament. But it looks, I think for lack of a better word, obscene to have a one-sided Parliament. Even with as much as the other side has all the numbers that are required, even if they were to pass a bill, the quorum would definitely be available. But what does it look like having just one side of the Parliament? That conversation we'll be able to continue with, because opposition says by Monday there will be a declaration on what the next course of action will be. But while the opposition was away, business goes on, and Parliament did pass the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill 2023, and this seeks to give UNOC the monopoly of supply of petroleum products. Why? They said they need to look at security of supply, but also the issues of monies in terms of the pump price, because these oligopolies are taking advantage of the end users. But in that, of course, UNOC will not be able to procure directly from the refineries. So Vitol will be able to procure. Some of the conversations that have come about, whereas the principle in itself is good, and most of the times we'll always talk about the principle, many have questioned the manner in which we are having to solve the problem, creating a bigger one, or we are actually solving the problem. Number two, Vitol. Why particularly Vitol? Did it go through the processes that are supposed to be taken or undertaken for an entity to carry on with government business? What's the good, what's the bad, what's the ugly in there? I want to start with you, Mr. Baguma, but maybe before I start with you, Honorable Bwalu, you were definitely not in the house, but business did go on. That is why now I go to Mr. Baguma to ask, yes, we've all complained about pump prices. And in most of the times, I normally say it's a rocket and feather approach, that when the prices are going up, they will launch up like a rocket. You will have it move from 4,000 to 6,000 in just a day. But the prices coming down has always been in the most sluggish way. The most recent conversation about pump prices, the Ministry of Energy said we should at least have the last price being 5,000. Tell me what the pump price you bought your fuel at is. It's more than 5,000 shillings. Will this bill be able to help if it is effective?
You see, first of all, this debate is about the experiences. If you are a woman in charge of a household and you have a man in the house who is the serial diddler of the other females in the house, especially the maids and the others, when you find him in the corridor putting up his zip from the direction of the kitchen or where, you start imagining that he's been diddling the current maid. So every time a particular power center is vigorously defending a position, you have all analysts very suspicious of that position. So even if the oil, this law was a positive thing, the vigorousness, the way it has been pushed and by who, makes it suspect from an analysis side immediately. So the lack of trust by a lot of the members of the public, particularly the elite and the guys who anyway you have a big stake, something to lose. That lack of trust fuels, first of all, and anchors this kind of discussion and debate. The second thing is that maybe I keep telling you, Mildred, that I sometimes it's interesting when I say I'll get held accountable because I come and say things and they are recorded. I think we are going to have a ministry of oil or petroleum, okay, or whatever we are. Yes, away from the Ministry of Energy. Because this resource must be the group that must benefit from this resource has to be a certain particular group, and that's it. Then the others will get residual benefits. And I challenge you, and this is what Sabit was saying, that if I was active in journalism, I would be finding out who are the 10 or so companies or whatever that are in the oil business from the Ugandan supplies thing. Who are they? Who owns these companies? Just the 10 that take the chunk of the business. You may be surprised, who they are. So Mildred, when you are dealing with this law, it is not a law that is coming, in my view, to guide a certain situation. It is a retrospective law. Decisions and commitments have been made, so you make a law to legalize them.
Yeah.
That is my view. So that is the value. Legalize what has already been decided, what has already been signed up, and what has already been done. Nigeria, Sudan, whatever. I think there was only one country then in Africa, and also the developing world or the poor world, which produces oil, but there are constant shortages. People line up, and they are ridiculous prices. Please prepare for the same situation. That even now where we really have not been lining up, going forward we will be lining up for fuel, and the prices will be going high. And so for me, I don't think there is a lot of science on this one. I think the situation is very straightforward. We shall have a ministry separate for oil or petroleum. We shall have a group of people. We shall have these businesses controlled in a certain way. We shall have prices going up, and we shall have shortages.
Okay. Honorable Jonathan, I'll bet the fact that you were not in Parliament. What do you make of this? Because severally, even you as the opposition have raised concerns over fuel prices that are unregulated.
Now, this government is known for undermining its own institutions. In 2007, I remember, government went ahead and deployed our soldiers in Somalia without the approval of Parliament. They came to Parliament later. Number two, the government went and deployed our soldiers in Sudan in 2013 without the approval of Parliament. They came in later. Even recently, when they deployed our soldiers in Congo, they did that without the approval of Parliament, and then later on. Now, I can tell you that this controversy here, this agreement was pre-signed. It was pre-signed, and then government came to Parliament later on, working in the reverse order, abusing the provisions of Article 159 that requires government not to commit itself. It must be Parliament. The only institution that is allowed to commit government or any agreement is Parliament. Now, for this one here, the agreement was pre-signed. They only came to Parliament for formality, but it was already pre-signed. So this was an abuse of Article 159 of the Constitution, Section 2, number one. Number two, the Parliament, the one-sided Parliament, went and passed this into law. But the implications are going to be there. The implications are going to be terrible. We know very well that monopoly is very dangerous. We should have allowed the open bidding system, open tender system. Allow people to apply, to bid, and then you get the person who is going to give us the cheapest price at the pump. In this case, this bill, now which is an act, has gone ahead to give veto the express rights to decide the prices, negotiate the prices, the supply, and the distribution.
No, they said Vitol buys from refinery as per what they intend and then sells to UNOC, and then UNOC does the supply.
That's exactly,
and the price
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Right from the prices to supply to distribution is going to be done by them. Now, what we are saying is that we had a very big problem with Omeme. Up to now, we want to pull out, but we cannot pull out. Very costly. Unfortunately, our government does not learn anything. We did not learn anything from that Omeme situation. We should have been able, one, go through Parliament. Two, open the bidding system so that we get a number of people bidding. A number of people bidding. But this one here, where you go expressly and give one person, I am going to tell you here that 5 years is a very long time. 5 years when we are being controlled by one single company, also a foreign company, not even a foreign company. Now, for 5 years, you're going to see a very big problem. Me, I would have advised if the debate was allowed in Parliament, but in any case, it was already pre-signed. So what Parliament did was simply to endorse, simply to formalize, but it was already pre-signed. So if we were to debate, I would have advised government this way, that one, let us open the bidding process. Number two, we get the bidder that is going to offer us the cheapest price at the pump. And then thirdly, maybe we'll be reviewing after every 3 months. Maybe after every 3 months, every 5 months or something like that. But 5 years is a very long time.
All right.
When you block people and give one single company like that, how is our economy going to grow? This is against the principle of good governance and the spirit of free economy.
I agree with you because this is a liberalized economy. We agreed to the structural adjustment policies and now we seem to be turning against them. Blanche, the principle, for many who seem to speak about the principle is, yes, we want to regulate the pump prices. Yet, yes, we want to. Yes.
Because the taxpayer is going to increase his fuel allowance.
No.
As a member of parliament.
But his constituents will suffer the most and he will bear the brunt. Honorable, you will respond later.
Okay.
You will respond. But the truth is,
just
yes.
a second. My teacher, my lecturer here. Yeah? My teacher, I want to follow.
Disarming the other?
I want to follow exactly what you told me to do. That well, you listen and talk.
Like he wants to land a punch, an uppercut.
But he has to
You first position me as you are the one who told me to say it.
Okay, let me leave it at that.
Yes, please, Blanche, it's your time.
Okay, two or three key important observations about this. I'm surprised by the way that government has approached this debate,
Yeah.
but also I'm very angry about how they have. I'm angry about why they have waited this long, because there is no country in the world that does not really have no active participation in the energy in its energy sector. So, when you look at our neighboring countries, how have they approached this issue? One is that they have approached it at the pricing level.
Yes.
In Uganda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, palm prices are set by the government. That's the first intervention, and they have been doing this for a long time. Secondly, so when you set the palm price, you are telling importers that this is the price that you must sell the fuel at for the next 3 months. That means that affects the taxes that you put on these importers.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we had a case of government setting palm prices, but also giving subsidies to these companies that import fuel. That was the second. So governments do not go directly into becoming the monopolies that import fuel. Not that much. The other recent case that we had in Kenya, that Kenya was getting fuel directly from Middle East countries.
Yes.
It was government deal. It was the issue to do with the shortage of foreign currency, of US dollars. So the Kenyan government was getting fuel and telling the country where they're importing it from and saying, we are going to pay you after 9 months. So you sign an agreement and say, we are going to pay you after 9 months because...
And yet the same are asking Ugandan OMCs to give an upfront payment of 6 months, meaning the Ugandan dollars will be in the Kenyan economy.
Of course, they have to be. So back to the main question is, should we have approached it in this way? To say that let's give the absolute monopoly of importing the petroleum products?
Yes.
The answer is no. We should have perhaps approached it the way that other countries have approached it, our neighbors. The other point is, so the question of energy security, government should really have a very, very keen interest in it. Second is, where the petroleum products prices go down, as Museveni was saying, the answer is no. So Museveni was basically telling there is a time when he put out a statement saying that these companies are cheating government in Kenya up to 30%, around when you look at the figures that Museveni presented, petrol, diesel, and kerosene. It could be between, when you look at the figures, it could be like between almost near 40%, between 25 to 40%. He says this is the profit that these companies are making off Ugandans. Is that true? The answer is no.
Okay.
So if government, and why do I say the answer is no? When you also look at as I said, the countries that control oil, the prices of petroleum products, the difference in prices, yes, Uganda has the highest prices in the region. If you look at, on average now, we are at, I think, 5,800, 900 there. But when you look at other countries, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, it's between 5,300 to 5,800. So unless government says it's going to remove all the taxes that it puts on petroleum products, because they are the ones that push the prices up, we are not going to see the prices go down by a big margin. The prices are not even going to go back to 5,000.
Okay.
Even when UNOCA starts importing, becomes the monopoly supplier of these petroleum products. So
thank you,
we should forget lower prices, but we should appreciate government's intervention in this sector and tell it's doing it in a very serious way.
Thank you, Joseph. I have a few minutes before we take a break. We will definitely continue with this particular conversation. But in a nutshell, there is what many want to call the principle of government coming in to deal and dealing with the palm prices and security of supply. But then there is also the realities of the deal that we're getting ourselves into.
I think the work is cut, clear cut for the newsrooms. One, I think that I don't think there was enough scrutiny on the bill, the contents, the provisions, the articles from us in the Fourth Estate. I think that we owe the country that, but also two, there's a conversation happening in this region. The G2G, government-to-government intervention in Kenya, I think has largely backfired. The country is up in arms. There's a lot of conversation about it. So I think that the work is also cut for the newsrooms to compare the OTS that Honorable Ebalo proposes, what we have signed, and the G2G that can, so all the contrasts are in the region. It is within our nose now to apply some journalistic stick to it. Number two, as a country, we adopted the structural adjustment policies of the IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah.
What has it brought home, right? Should we stay there? Is it legitimate for us to review our options?
The president said he was duped.
Yeah, but isn't it time to review our options? I want us to examine the principles and the provisions of that article that is not of that legislation that is now on the president's desk for assent and help guide the country. I want to agree with Baguma that in Uganda now, the easiest way to make a career is to be suspicious of everything the government does. And we need to ask ourselves how we got to a point where every government intervention is looked at with eyes of suspicion.
Yeah.
How did we get there? How did we get to a point where even if they walk up to say that the government will build houses for everyone in Bunyoro, everyone will start asking, why now? Why now? No, who is eating? who is stealing? And what? And that's a perception issue that I think all government institutions actually face. But I wanted to ask a quick question. Is it important for government to regulate palm price? I would respond to the affirmative.
Yeah.
Does this deal help? Actually, it goes down to good faith, to the interests of the people at the other end of enforcement. Are they going to place the country above individual interests? Because when you have monopoly of the fuel industry, you're basically controlling the economy to a point of about 60% because the ripple effects then spread across.
Yeah.
So do we have patriots who will sit there and work for this country?
We're not sure.
That's the question we need to ask. So,
that's the suspicion that Richard was talking about.
So I think that for me, I want to see the palm prices come down.
Yes.
I want to also see that there is constant supply of fuel in the country.
Yeah.
I also want to see that the common person down. Some of us have walked the journey of poverty to where we are. We hugged poverty, kissed it, and we go back and see our people going through the pain. I want to believe that one day we'll sit down and discuss these arguments in light with the people. I'm not saying the people, me and Jonathan, who meet in the corridors of Parliament and say we are the people. No, they are actually legitimate people in this country who need our good hearts, our integrity. The Zombo.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Joseph. I'll be taking a very short break. We'll return, and I will start off from the point of the agreements that you talked about, but the structural adjustment policies and whether it is time for us to be able to change and how we get to change. But as we do take a break, of course, now we should say it's hours countdown. We've started the hours countdown to the royal wedding, the Mbaga ya Mwenemu. Of course, for the other side, it is excitement. The countdown is on. What does it look like? Zambali, Blasio Mukasa, agenda kuba tubulira bichi ebigenda maaso, chichi ekikyuseewo ku jjo n'olwaleero, kubanga kati tutandise kubala ssaawa okutuusa olw'enkya.
Midwe tuhayise ebikyuseewo ebisooka kati kwambala. bw'oba ojja ku mbaga ya mwennemu ku bantu 2,000 abaweereddwa kaadi enteekateeka efulumya eri bweti oyambala kanzu gw'omusajja kanzu ne kooti yo onyume bulungi mu church omukazi gomesi ate y'ekitiibwa kati bwe tuva mu church ne tugenda wali abagenyi ab'ebitiibwa bwe bagenda okusembezebwa we banaabeera mu lubiri lwa mwennemu awo yambala pate dress ey'ekitiibwa gwe omukyala ate omusajja bakkanyiza fune suuti teekako botayi ey'ekitiibwa embaga bwetyo bwekyayimiridde tuli wano e Bugembe naye kyenyongera okutegeeza nti next media ng'eri wamu ne bannaffe ba Unilever kyetesitese twagala abantu bajje ku mbaga ya mwennemu nga banyirira twagala abantu ba mwennemu bajje ku mbaga nga basanyufu twagala abantu ba mwennemu bajje ku mbaga nga bw'ayogera gamba oli otya mwami Zambali nga nawoga ng'akawoowo keeko so si muntu kubuuzaako nti Zambali oli otya tatega gundi ng'obulamu nolwekyo tugenda kugaba ebirabo okuva mu Unilever ngenda kutambula wano ku street nti omusajja ono bwe kyannatuusa wano bidda bwambuza kimu 2 3 bina nga nti oli otya njagala kuwa ku birabo okuva mu Unilever ne next media obeere wakabi ekisooka kya bino ogende weenyirize ogenda kubeera otya ku mbaga ya mwennemu
mbaga ya mwennemu njagala mbeere nga nyambadde bulungi ng'ekyo kirabo kyompadde nga nsobola
kaakati ngenda kutandika ku kintu kimu njagala obe ng'osenya naye nga lwakubuuza osenyesa ki ngoyogera ekigambo kimu Pepsodent ogamba ani kigambo bakinaani Pepsodent kiddemu buli we bakusanga ng'ogamba ki nga buli akubuuza osenyesa ki ng'era Pepsodent nga naye akunyiriza nkuwadde kankwe ku Pepsodent ate sigenda kuwa Pepsodent yekka njagala nkwene ku omo ono omo omulaba genda onyiike engoye zonna genda onyiike buli kyonyika genda buli kimu okinyiike obeere musajja w'amaanyi ojja ku mbaga ya mwennemu ng'onyirira ono gwe kabulaza olina engeri gy'otula ng'owakabi ositulamu mu kiwuma nkutegeera ekyuma ositula kyaki omubiri kubeera fiiti kakati njagala buli omala ositula ekyuma nga oba n'akawowo akalungi olinayo girlfriend wonderful kati senya naye okubeera n'abawala abangi ojja kulwala kabulaza oteekako ekyo kirungi nnyo kakati bw'omala okusenya omuwala bw'omala aba engeri gy'okuŋŋaanya abangi ng'omuga nti kakati genda onyiike engoye zange engoye bazinyika mu ki mu omo engoye ozinyika mu ki mu omo ne zinyirira olina naawe omukyala yani amanya Nanunda hawa nkuwadde olwa Nanunda hawa onaamuzaako tomuzeeko togenda muzaako ngongedde ono alina bangi buli muntu ojja kakati gwe kyengenda okukola ngenda kukolako ne Pepsodent osenyewo tebwati ona noonyirira ng'obosenya nga bosenya kigide abakungu ate bagambye buli omu waali wagenda okunyumirirwa embaga n'olwekyo mwetegeke munyumirirwa embaga ddayo onnyike kanzu obeera mu kanzu Nanunda mugambe ate n'otunnyo asenye ogenda omugambe Nanunda olina omukyala wamugjawa
namujja Kamuli
kakati bw'oba wamujja Kamuli buli lwoba ng'ogenda okwoza engoye okozesa omo mugambe buli wasanga agula ki Unilever ngeri wamu ne next media NBS eteesetese mujje ku mbaga ya mwennemu nga muli mutya nga mwennemu mushana owe wamujjawa Budondo mama nga wala kale nkuwadde omo ate naawe ngenda kuwa kwa kino kyetuli twagala mwena embaga nkuwadde ne Pepsodent nkuwadde ne omo onaanaaba kale nede niyokuwa kubanga ono waffe omo aba mulungi naye kati gwe engeri gyenkwagadde nnyo konna nkakuwadde njagala oddeyo obe nga oli wakabi nnyo NBS nga tuli wamu ne Unilever. What we are doing here is to make sure that people who are going to come on the royal wedding bakola ebintu ebyakabi ate bajja bafaana bulungi ate bajja n'okusenya basenyeza. We are still here in Jinja and Bugembe. We are enjoying until the D-Day of the royal wedding. Midway to Haise tugenda kuwumulamu katono tukomawo gwe kyolina okukola kimu kwekubira ku NBS kwekubira kusanyuka kwekubira ku bikutu gyaffe gyonna. We are here to make you smile and we are here to inform you because we inform to transform. See you there.
King Saha! Hotel Africana, Namunana December, Musoi Yomaka Jatumie, Heavy Serabio! Mtwale bili tepe mtwale tano emezi ya milioni 3 na mwenda December mkono Colin Hotel 10 December Masaka Maria Flow 15 December Luka ya Nana Gardens 16 December Liantonda Mutisawa 17 December Mbarara University Inn Mwana Mulenzi King Saha haine dobozi lipanga masanyaraze Kare Musareko Hotel Africana Gamunana December Majibwe Muganda Kombucha Drink Junction Mall Good Base Entertainment
Eurofarm NBS.
Uru nebitegekebwa Yesinke Events.
Come in.
Chichi, mbola, wachi, nja kunyonyola. Wachi tutambulanga ababi. Tairo. Siwatuka bitya. Hatanyika mangu.
Let your guests enjoy walking around your house. Italtex is the perfect adhesive for any tile job. Easy to use, versatile, and most importantly, durable enough to handle any tile problem. Italtex tile adhesive. No need to refix.
Friends, you may not believe this, but Uganda is actually running out of trees. So we have a campaign. We've partnered with several leading corporates to plant more trees. Our ambition is to plant 40 million trees in the next 5 years. We've done quite a lot of that. Stanbic alone in the last year planted 70,000 trees. And when we do plant these trees, we're not just planting, we are growing the trees. And we're very deliberate about how we're doing this.
At Uganda Breweries, we have a vision called Society 2030. Our dream is that every Ugandan would plant a tree and maintain it by the year 2030.
Stanbic coming on board as cutting across, and through Stanbic we've had a number of other players actually coming through because of our engagement with Stanbic. They've committed budgets to do actual planting, because the Roots campaign is designed in a way that the partners are at liberty to decide which way they do their participation.
We believe in Uganda.
Era tutukanga omuntu nti nigasita ndala mukaaga itano sita isatu ash onige yes
ngaho bakubuza amachanti
nga bamubuza amachanti code nga tumukobata mu 7 bino ndija olumalirizawo ngatamwe sente dali kuwayo kumbaga ya mwenemu sawa yeneyo nga kyabazinga amwebaza nga tweyongere kai tujja mu kyalo ekindi
ekikoba embago lunawa luti nga mwira
tulija kumala kai tweyongere emyezi mukaaga nga tukasumisa abantu momope
baba embaga ya mwenemu eriyo nga 18 kai emyezi omukaaga gyoli kuongeramu ojaji
oyidine bya momope abantu yembite yona bandeta momo ono ne bibali kumpaka ne bya momo pabi kyama kupichipichi ojo bisomesa
muleke musoni we tyamaja
baba tuka bulungi
simbulembalasi asumulude
momo nyabo.
Pay or shop with MTN Momo and get cash back every week. It's free of charge. Use the Momo app or dial *165*3#.
In this family, we can't agree on anything. Martha. We can't even agree on what to watch. All the games to play.
Martha.
Ndoza Mulabi. We can't even agree on what to eat. At least the one thing for now we can all agree on is the soap to use. He likes that it's big and lasts long. Anti-economy. I like that it keeps my skin smooth. Alina Echovu. And the children like that. It smells amazing. Everyone is happy. Movit soap comes in 4 fantastic flavors. Movit family soap is truly soap for the whole family.
Movit. All day confidence.
Are you searching for a perfect team to cover your event? Search no more. X Events is the answer. We are professionals in photography and videography for all kinds of events, ranging from weddings, introductions, giveaways. We are located at Access Building, Rubaga Road, opposite Hotel Sujavalo. For more information, please visit our Facebook page on X Events and XCY Events 256 on Instagram. X Events, capturing your precious moments.
Join us on Sunday for a flavorful Mediterranean feast for the entire family. Mediterranean brunch every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. For reservations, call +256 313 243 000 or +256 707 001 988 or email reservations@mistilhotels.com or visit www.mistilhotels.com.
Kampala people, this is it. As the Ebonies prepare to launch their best Christmas show ever, here is your final chance to watch the latest musical production, Es La Vida. On the 17th of November at Theatre La Bonita, the stage giants will be showcasing the final show of Es La Vida this year. So don't miss out on the harmonious singers, the sensuous dancers, the humorous actors, and your favorite TikTokers. So be there on the 17th of November at Theatre La Bonita.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it NBS Television. This is the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show. And on a Friday, it is the Media Roundtable. Journalists in their perspective making sense of the stories that are making headlines right here. As we took a break, we were talking about the oil supply or the petroleum supply amendment bill that was passed by Parliament, giving, the leeway to be able to. The principle is we want to control the pump prices. That is what government says. And some of the members of Parliament in support of this say if there were 3 levels of middlemen, you've knocked off at least 2 levels of middlemen and you're keeping 1. What would be the best option, Richard, starting with you, of dealing with this issue of petroleum products in the country? Because yes, prices needs to be controlled, and we know that just a slight increase in the price of a litre of fuel will have a ripple effect on so many others. Some have said we should have gone ahead to capitalize, with 100 million shillings for them to be able to directly go to the refineries, buy the fuel and bring it. Why do you have to get another middleman, Vitol, yet you're saying you're fighting out middlemen? What is the best way to deal with this oil conversation?
The beauty of most of us, and this makes governance easy, is we usually either forget or let go. We have umeme. It was similar. The defense of the umeme deal, the prices will go down, the efficiency will go up, everything. Now, after how many years? We have a different language. Because I think umeme has gone out of favor, but there's going to be another umeme. There has to be. Because the money around power, which is electricity and oil, must be managed. You see, the mistake that we make is when I say I want to control, you interpret that I want to reduce. Control and reduce are not the same words. So if I say I want to control the pump price, I'm not necessarily saying I want to reduce. But for you, if you interpret it that way, thank you very much. You fall into my narrative. So, at the very least, for me, hand-picking, we have not had a single successful and good outcome of a hand-picked service provider. I really want these gentlemen, but the others outside, to remind me of one, that there has been a hand-picked single service provider in this country, in any sector, that has succeeded. So what is different, particularly in this one? So there is going to be control of prices. control does not equal to reduction. No. So that is, for me, the bottom line. 2, the control facilitates the hemorrhage even much better, because you have to deal with different players when you have different players. So at the very least, we should have had at least an open process. If we must have a monopolist, which I don't think we must, but if we must have a monopolist, at least it would have been an open process of getting that. So it's a very strategic resource. It can be weaponized. Energy can be weaponized, particularly fuel. But the overriding factor of taking, more and more from all these strategic economic processes, it's the same. You want Mildred, how is this different from the monopoly over coffee? Yeah. You see, I have heard that there is a reform going forward in the tea industry. The tea industry is one of the industries that has been quiet. It generates quite a lot of money. Now, how is that different from the oil, the palm oil? The narrative is the same. Sabiti, the journalists are not going to dig deep in this. They have no context or room to dig deep in this. You were followed. You didn't love walking on crutches. Sorry, you walked on crutches. How would you think that this one has improved? What is in my view, it has become worse. Yeah. So expecting that the pump prices will go down, no. Let's prepare to pay for higher pump prices. Expecting that the shortages that have not been as prevalent will go away, in fact, they are going to increase. And the hemorrhage to certain centers will not only continue, but will increase. So where there is absolutely no transparency, there is opaqueness. What do you expect? And that's what we are having. It would have been open. It would have been transparent. The legislation for it should have come first, not the other way, putting the cart before the horse, and you'd have seen goodwill. The fact that we are suspicious is we have seen this narrative and script played out again and again.
Okay. Blanche, what then should government do, especially to deal with the principle of we need to control, we need to regulate this particular industry without direct input?
Government has no easy solutions, as we know, as it will find out. Now it's giving people hopes based on false assumptions. Once it starts importing, once it takes charge of this industry, they will actually get to know that it's very hard to lower even the palm price by 100 shillings. They'll find it very hard. So one of the things that, for my thing, that government can do is they need to build bigger storage facilities for oil. We know that the ones that we have in Ginger can store up to 30 million liters. Which takes us about 1 week. 1 week. You need to perhaps have storage capacities that can store 200 million liters. So that if anything happens, like we see how wars start in Israel and Palestine, we have the one in Russia and Ukraine, anything can happen in the Middle East, which is the main supplier of petroleum products, and oil does not move for 2 weeks. It could be here for Uganda, even if you spend 1 day without oil. So one thing that government can do, which it can easily do, is that you need to build much bigger storage facilities. That's the only difference for my thing that it can do, and it can do that cheaply. The other things, they should forget, because there is not going to be any impact.
All right.
But it's not about building.
Yes.
We have had stores. MPs went there. They were empty. So beyond building.
actually, maybe I can. Part of this deal that we're discussing includes building one, but also filling up the one at Ginger.
Yeah, and we have had these promises.
No, I'm just saying.
I know. I have read the part of those, but yes. The promises are one thing. And the
And the delivery is totally different. Joseph, what do you think would be the best solution in this case? Because there is the whole argument as well that instead of giving Vitol this whole, the other companies which were probably even willing to give a bank guarantee to UNOC to be able to get this money, because we're talking about $100 million US, which equates to about 300 and maybe 60 or 70 billion Ugandan shillings. And many are asking, are we not able to get that money if we actually need to deal with the real root cause of the oil and the palm prices that will have a ripple effect at the end of the day?
I think Baguma mentioned something at the beginning and talked about the likely moves in the oil sector as Uganda's oil reality or oil dream becomes a reality. He talked about the possibility of a Ministry of Petroleum. I think that as a country we need to start having a conversation about that moment when our oil actually gets down from the ground. I think I would want to see a very strong national oil company that has the capacity to deal with that scenario. Just maybe this could be an opportunity to strengthen that company. But again, like I said, we have a lot of context in the region to draw from. Blanche talked about the G2G and said fuel is highest in Uganda. There was a time when Kenyans were crossing to our borders to fuel after that G2G arrangement. That gives us one context for examination. The OTS that Honorable Eboalo proposes has been with us. They tell you the oil prices at the market have gone high. They come to half price, the pump price remains the same. We have experienced that reality. What we are discussing is the other option. So maybe we need to sit down and examine critically. But all these interventions, like Baguma said, depend on the goodwill and the real intentions of the project. If the government of the Republic of Uganda wants to stabilize the pump price, we have to examine. Again, President Uhuru Kenyatta left that context. He heavily subsidized the oil sector, right? When he left, the information from the central bank away from the politics did not point to something very positive. So if we are to subsidize prices, you know that our revenue collections got a hit from COVID. We got a hit from donor reactions and actions. And therefore, the country is in a position where we need to be very careful about our economics. So for me, I still think, Mildred, it goes down to the intentions of the people in charge of this project. If they wish their country well, there could be something positive out of this. The problem is, like I said, one of the easiest ways to make a career in Uganda is to be a skeptic, not even a critic, a skeptic. Just wake up and oppose everything. And I'm telling you, it's the easiest way to make a career because because people question, and it's not coming from nowhere.
And opposing that does not make someone an opposition person. Probably you're connecting.
No, I'm just saying there's context to this. Yes. There's a reason why people are skeptic about everything the government brings. And that goes down to all the institutions of government, including the one I work for. They need to examine the question of the loss of public confidence in these institutions. But let me tell you one sector you won't play with in any country. It can be the most dormant to you, political and everything, but the fuel sector is not one you play with because the consequences are directly in your faces. And I am very sure that the people drafting these agreements and doing all these things know. You can discuss, you speak English, people, when Honorable Eboalo talks about human rights and people disappearing, very few people relate with it until it hits you.
Yeah.
But the oil sector will hit you and me straight to the face. And the likely reactions to any mismanagement of that sector, I don't think is the one that government would want to see. So, for me, I still think it will go down to goodwill.
Goodwill.
Yes.
All right. Honorable, what do you think of the solution to our continuous problem?
I am not a prophet of doom. But I can assure you, let's give the thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. We are going to see the fuel prices go high. I'm not a prophet of doom. But with this arrangement, you're going to see, one, this bill was hurried. It was hurried, and there's something inside that they're hiding. That's why they didn't want to go through the normal processes. They hurried this bill. So we are likely to see high prices very soon, number one. Number two, fuel is the heart, is the blood, and is the soul of the economy. You see, like now, Uganda, in the event of any breakdown, we have now given this veto, these guys. In the event of any breakdown, I want to tell you, Uganda consumes daily about 7 million liters of fuel. That translates to about 200, 210 liters of fuel per month, million. Now, in the event of any breakdown, I can tell you, you see how we are going to suffer. Fuel, just like my colleague said, is one sector that we cannot play with. One, it controls the economy. Two, it controls the cost of transport. Three, it controls the services. Three, down there on the ground, my people who are in the Soroti, who are in Lira, who are everywhere, you now need to move from your village to the hospital, you use border border. You need to move from your village to the market, use border border. We now have close to 1.9 million border borders. Now, if the prices are going to go high, that means the last person who is going to suffer, not us who are drafting these bills, not us who are passing it in parliament, is the peasant, the last person who is going to suffer. In fact, even if the fuel prices go high, what happens is they simply increase hours. Yeah? They simply increase hours to the current status quo. But what happens to the peasant in the village? Who is going to increase his fuel? Who is going to increase his earning? So we must not play with this. Those who are rushing to pass this bill, those who are rushing to draft this bill, is going to have a huge consequence on our peasants. Government, the problem with our government is that I don't know whether it doesn't do research. I don't know whether what happens to it. They came in the other time with creating a number of agencies, UNRWA, URA, a number of them, over 30. Now what is happening, they are taking them back to their brother ministries, others are being merged, and others are being disbanded.
Try and
so
error.
What exactly? But you can do try and error in your bedroom, whatever you want to do in your family there. You don't do it with the country. This is a country that is being run. And when you're going to run a country according to the will of the people who gave you power. Not a few people to go and sit wherever they want to sit, come and sneak the bill like this, pass it. It is going to have a huge consequence on our people. And I'm promising you here, we shall come back to this studio. We never learned anything with Omeme. But for Meme, you can choose to put you can choose to put your units or not. Number one. Number two, you can, there are many people. In fact, those who are connected to the electricity, even few, more people in the countryside are not connected to your electricity. That one we can do without. But fuel, we cannot do without. I need to put fuel in the Bajaj to take my children to the hospital. I need to put fuel in the Bajaj to take my child to school. I need to put fuel in to board in Soroti to come to Mulago Hospital. So if you're going to increase the prices, what happens is that is the last person who is going to suffer. It is not Museveni, it is not me, it is not so-and-so, it's not Nankabirwa, it is the last person who is going to suffer. So therefore, when we are dealing with the fuel sector, we must be very careful to think about our people who pay these taxes.
All right, and it still goes back to what Joseph said earlier on, the will. And this is the time where we will ask, are we going back on the structural adjustment policy? But if we choose to, what would be the best way to go about it? But anyway, our time is fast spent. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of us. So we will be waiting to see what yield will be coming from this and if the president gets to assent to this. Joseph, thank you so much for your time. To you, Richard, it's always a pleasure having you, Honorable Ebwalu. Thank you so much, and Blanche. And to our viewers, of course, what is only awaiting us right now is the conversation about the royal wedding. And as promised, what you need to do is, if you don't have the invite, it's okay. Just dress up respectfully and sit. Next Media will be here to give you all the updates as they come through. Make a very good meal. That will be your reception at the home. I am Mildred Choaisa. Thank you for joining us. God bless you and good morning.
Would you know where to find your children if they got lost in a supermarket?